say when I got to Millwood, the church had been in conflict and was struggling in a lot of different ways. And instead of going right at the centers of power and trying to make changes right in the middle of where people already had their territory staked out, we kind of started these experiments at the margins where we tried to go to places where people didn't have territory staked out and try to engage and connect with the community. And I would say I sort of had a subversive agenda, which was I wanted the members of the church to have conversations and relationships with the people in the neighborhood. And so the things that we did lent themselves to that. So we took an old building that wasn't being used and renovated it with the help of different partnerships that we developed and created a youth community center. And because we did it in partnership with the school district and with a couple of other groups, it was this conversation place. It was an intersection place where we came together with others and we were starting to find a larger story than just our own little. Church stories can be so little, especially when we're in conflict. And so the story started to open up and widen into more of what I would call a kingdom story. And another experiment was the farmers market. We launched in our church parking lot. We befriended a couple farmers, and some people in the church had a vision for that. So we went out in the church parking lot and we sold healthy food, but even more than that, there were these great conversations that started to grow up, not just between me and the neighborhood, but between members of the church and the neighborhood. And my sense is that as those conversations developed and as those stories became known, our identity started to shift and our imagination started to sort of expand for who God was calling us to be. And lo and behold, over time, though, that imagination at the margins where no one had any territory staked out started to migrate to the centers of power and started to, instead of holding on so tightly to what people were fearing they would lose, they started to kind of loosen their grip and embrace things that were going on at the margins. And my sense is that has helped us make the turn without blowing up the church. Has helped us to live into new ways of being church without getting in big, huge knockdown, drag-out fights about it. And it's really been fun. I mean, that's been the fun part of it. And so we've emphasized the idea of doing experiments, starting maybe at the margins, and letting that imagination grow up and seeing what happened. It really. There's not a master plan in as much as let's tell stories, let's build relationships, let's pay attention to the Spirit and see what God does in the midst of that. And lo and behold, the Spirit is at work and God does stuff as we pay attention.